So we're going to start. 皆さん、こんにちは。私の名前はLori Whaley です。Lori Tsugawa Whaley. I have some folk tales to share with you. The first one will be about me. I am the mouse, Father Mouse. A long time ago, when creatures could speak, there lived a family of mice in the corner of the emperor's palace. Now, Father Mouse was quite the creature with his smooth skin and his stunning whiskers. He thought he was quite the man. However, he had a family that lived with him. And we have Mother Mouse and his pretty little daughter, Chuko. And they are going on an adventure. We have the family of mice here. One day, his pretty little daughter Chuko came to him and said, Oto-san, that means father, a handsome field mouse wants to marry me, but he's too shy to ask. Could I marry him, please, Oto-san, please? What? My daughter marry a mouse? A common field mouse? No, Chuko, I don't think so. You must have the finest in the land. And who would that be, Oto-san? You will see. I will find the perfect man for you, and he will be the greatest of all. So Father Mouse goes on a journey, goes up many stairs until he comes to the emperor's room, and he knocks on the door. Osama-san, I have great news for you. My pretty little daughter Chuko wishes to marry, and we have chosen you, Osama-san, because you are the greatest of all. And Osama-san said, oh, Father Mouse, oh, gomen nasai, I am so sorry. I cannot marry your pretty little daughter Chuko, for you see there's someone far greater than me. And who would that be? Why, it's the sun. During the noonday, the sun covers the sky, and even I, the emperor, must hide my face in the shade. And Father Mouse says, oh, domo arigato. Thank you so much, Osama-san. I will go to the sun. So Father Mouse goes out of the palace and into the yard until finally he comes across, he goes, oh, Ara, there it is, the sun. Oh, he says, oh, he's so excited. Mr. Sun, I have great news for you. My pretty little daughter Chuko wishes to marry you. And we've chosen you, Mr. Sun, because you are the greatest of all. And Mr. Sun says, oh, Father Mouse, gomen nasai, I am so sorry. I cannot marry your pretty little daughter Chuko, for you see there's someone far greater than me. And Father Mouse says, and who would that be? Why, it's the clouds. During the day, the clouds covered the sun, and even I, the sun, I am put in the background. So he goes further on, and he walks along, and he tries to find that cloud. And so he finally finds the cloud, and he goes, oh, Mr. Cloud, I have great news for you. My pretty little daughter Chuko wishes to marry, and we have chosen you, Mr. Cloud, because you are the greatest of all. And Mr. Cloud says, oh, Father Cloud, I am so sorry. I cannot marry you, your daughter Chuko, because you see there's someone far greater than me. And Father Mouse said, and who would that be? Why, it's the wind. During the day, the wind cloud comes, and all of the clouds must scatter into the sky. And so he walks further. He goes further along. He's getting a little discouraged, and he says, he finds the clouds, and then he says, oh, it's the wind. Why, the clouds. Oh, Mr. Cloud, I'm so glad we found you, and we are going to the wind. And so he goes further, and he looks out into the sky, and no wind is coming along, but he keeps looking, and he walks for miles and miles, because he must find that perfect husband for his pretty little daughter Chuko. So he finally starts to see and feel the wind, and he and he looks around and he says, "Oh, Mr. Wind, I'm so glad to see you. You see this, I have a pretty little daughter and I wish that I have to have her marry the finest in the land. And we were told that you, Mr. Wind, that you are the greatest of all." And Mr. Wind said, "Oh, Father Mouse, I'm so sorry. I cannot marry your daughter, your pretty little daughter, Chuko, for you see, there's someone far greater than me." And Father Mouse says, "Well, who would be greater than you, Mr. Wind? Because I was told you were the greatest of all." And so Mr. Wind says, "Oh, Father Mouse, every day, my Nietzsche, every day, I blow and I blow and I blow. And no matter how hard I blow, the wall still stands." And so he says, "Oh, thank you so much, Mr. Wind. I will go to the wall." And so this is another journey for him. So he goes out into the valley and he climbs many hills until he comes across the wall, and he finds the wall and he goes, Mr. Wall, I have great news for you. My pretty little daughter Chuko wishes to marry, and we have chosen you, Mr. Wall, because you are the greatest of all." And Mr. Wall says, "Oh, Father Mouse, I'm so sorry. I am great, but there's someone far greater than me." And Father Mouse says, "Who would be greater than the wall? You have been standing tall for centuries. Who is greater than you?" And he says, "Why, it's a small little mouse. He's a humble field mouse, and his name is Konezumi." And Father Mouse says, let's see, Konezumi. Oh, I remember Konezumi's name. And so Father Mouse remembers that this was the gentleman that Chuko wanted to marry. And so he says, "Oh," with a little bit of embarrassment, shall we say. He's a little shy, almost humbled, and says, "Well, I will go to Konezumi." And so he thought about it. He goes, Konezumi, I must eat a piece of humble pie. Now, some of you may know what humble pie is. It's when something happens and you're a little embarrassed. So Father Mouse was a little embarrassed, but he was determined to find the finest in the land for his pretty little daughter, Chuko. So Father Mouse goes along, and he goes along the wall for many, many miles until he sees this little hole down on the bottom. And he says, that must be Konezumi's house, because he's the only mouse that lives by the wall. So he was told. And so he goes up to the wall and he finds the place where Konezumi lives, and he knocks on the door. And he says, "Oh, Konezumi, I have great news for you. My pretty little daughter Chuko wishes to marry, and we've chosen you, Konezumi-san, because you are the greatest of all." And Konezumi is so happy. He says, "Oh, Father Mouse, thank you so much. I will be a wonderful husband for your pretty little daughter Chuko, for you see, I have wanted to marry her for so long." And he says, "Yes, I agree. You would be the perfect husband for my beautiful daughter Chuko." And so at the wedding, when Konezumi and Chuko were married, there were many people, but the people of importance there was the emperor, who was not good enough, the sun, the clouds, and the wind, the wall, but nobody was the perfect match for my beautiful daughter Chuko. So at the wedding, everybody came. The sun, the moon, not the sun, the emperor, the clouds, the wind, the wall. Everybody all agreed that they made quite the handsome couple. Wouldn't you all agree? Chuko and Konezumi. So they said, everyone would say, "Oh, they make such a handsome couple, and they lived happily ever after all." And in honor of Konezumi and Chuko, the emperor wrote a haiku. Now, haiku is a poem, but it has 17 syllables, and I believe it's unique to Japan. And he said, the very best spouse for a pretty little mouse is another mouse. The end. And so Father Mouse said, I knew it all along. We mice are the greatest of all. The end. Owari. So everybody's happy now. Owari. Our next tale, thank you very much. And you may write in the comments. I saw one comment. I'll try to be up higher and adjust this. Okay. We have the White Hare of Inaba. I hope you can all see that. Can you all see that this is Oki and Inaba? This is the white hare. Can you all see the white hare and hear me? A little more up, okay? There. Hopefully this is good. Oh, great. Yokatta ne. So we have the white hare of Inaba. Can you all see it? Usagi-san? So many years ago, when animals and creatures could talk, there lived a white mouse, a white hare, and he lived on the island of Oki. And every day he was so lonely. He lived in Inaba and he wanted to go to Inaba so bad. Just like many of you want to go to Japan so badly right now, but until we can, we'll just have to have virtual things and just plan our next trip to Japan. So the white hare was he was a cute little rabbit or bunny. And he was thinking, every day, Mainichi, he thought about going to Inaba because that's where all his friends were. But somehow he got over to Oki and he wanted to get back so badly. And so he thought every day, and he played in the sun, he played in the water, he played with other friends that he made, but nothing, and nobody could help him get to Inaba. So he was thinking, and then one day he saw, oh my goodness, he thought, I've got it, Ada, I have it. I will go to that creature over there. I don't really know him, but we can become friends, and he's going to take me to Inaba. And he strikes up a conversation with him. Oh, Wani-san, how are you today? He goes, well, I'm pretty good. How are you? Well, I'm really good, but you look like you're a popular person, and there are a lot more of you than there are of me. Yeah, that's right. There's so many more of me. Well, how do I know? Well, there's just so many more of me because we are so much more popular. Besides, we can eat almost anybody. And so he goes and he says, well, I've got an idea. Why don't you bring all of your friends and let's see who has more friends. So he goes, okay, I'll get all my friends and we'll show you how many people. There are so many more of us and I'll just show you. Well, I would really like that. And so Mr. Wani or Wani-san goes and gathers all of his friends and he has them. He goes, well, that's great, but why don't you line them up between here and Inaba? Oh, that's no problem. There's so many more of us. I'll just get them all to line up and then you can count. That sounds like a plan. Perfect. So Mr. Wani goes to find all of his friends and they start lining up. There's so many more of them and you can count along with me. And so he says, okay, I'm going to jump on your backs of each one of you and see how many more you have. So he starts doing that. He goes Ichi, ni, san, shi, go, roku, shichi, hachi, ku. Oh, there are so many of you. Oh, yeah. There's still some more. Okay, well, let's keep counting. So they go, hyaku, hyaku ichi, hyaku ni, hyaku san. They keep counting. And finally, he reaches Inaba. And so he goes to Inaba. And before he does, he tells Mr. Wani about his trick. Mr. Wani, thank you so much, but I really wanted to go to Inaba, so I kind of played a trick on you. You did? Yeah, I did. I just wanted to get over to Inaba, and you seem to have a lot more friends that can help me. There aren't many here that can help me. Oh, that doesn't make me very happy. Well, goodbye. I'll see you later. Or before he goes, and he starts tearing away at Itai, yo. And all of a sudden, all of his fur was gone. And he was so sad. But Mr. Wani says, well, I'll teach him not to do any tricks. And so Mr. Hare says, oh, I'm so sad that I did that. I played a trick on you and it just wasn't good. And I'm so sorry. Well, you shouldn't have played the trick on me. I know, but now I don't have any fur and I'm really hurt. Well, sorry, buddy, but that's kind of what happens. You know what? I'm really sorry. You should learn not to play tricks on people. Oh, I won't play tricks anymore. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. So he goes down to Inaba and lays on the beach and he's down there and oh my goodness, he is so, oh, Itai, oh, I should not have done that. And so finally one kind man comes by and he says, oh, it looks like you're having troubles, aren't you? And he goes, yes, I am. I don't have any fur. So he says, well, why don't you go down to the river and go into the river. And what will happen is you will get your fur back. And so he does. He goes to the river and he lays down by the cattails and his fur starts appearing. And he was so happy that he didn't know what to do. And he goes, oh, I'm so happy. I won't play any more tricks on anybody else. However, those other mean people, especially that first one, I didn't even tell you about him. He told me to jump into the sea. And I don't like to talk about people that are mean, but they told me to jump into the sea. And that just wasn't nice. But then the nice brother comes by. And so I'm going to try to help the nice brother. So he sees him the next day and he goes, well, what can I do to help you? And he goes, well, you see all this baggage I have? My brothers told me to take all the baggage to Inaba. That's where the princess lives. And we all want to marry her. Well, I don't blame you. I don't blame you at all. And so what they did is they all went to the princess. But then remember the nice brother. He was the one that the princess wanted. The princess did not want to marry anybody that was mean. And that's the same about all of us boys and girls. Isn't that right? And many adults too, that we like to be with people that are nice. And so he learned his lesson. I'll never do tricks again. I'll never do tricks again. But the best part of it is the princess fell in love with the nice brother who took all the baggage, and he was the only nice brother of all the brothers because the other brothers wanted him to hurt, where the nice brother, he wanted him to be well. So that is the end of this story. And the moral of this story is always be kind. Always, always, always be kind. Never, ever, ever play tricks on anybody else, no matter how funny it might seem. But I learned my lesson. And now, because I've learned my lesson, I would like to hear from all of you. And we have a lot of comments in the comment section. So we will open it up. And if you want a comment, or this is a hare finally learns his lesson and he eats humble pie. Wonderful stories. What pie? Wait, what pie? Well, the pie is humble pie. And it's an expression in America. So when you become embarrassed, you have to eat a humble pie. And that's sometimes humbling. And sometimes that's what we need when we get too high. My mother used to say that stop being like the Queen of Sheba. That's what my mother used to tell me. It's like, you're not the Queen of Sheba. And I never knew who that was until I got older. And the stories, there's a lot more to this story, but I had to shorten it because I knew I only had about 10, 15 minutes. Are there any more questions? In the top of the chat, I put how to contact me, and I love to tell stories. I love storytelling. And the first time I did it was in the Washington Correction Center for Women. That's the prison. And the women loved it. They especially loved my voices. Like, I have another one where I talk like this, and they absolutely loved it. So I said, well, I think I'm onto something. And I love to tell stories. I've done it for many Japanese festivals, and I did it at Kinokuni, yeah. Let's see. Oh, well, yes, and the other thing I love to do is I go to the Nikkei Manor in Seattle, and they have a group of third graders that come in with them. And so I actually, when I'm with Japanese, especially when I saw them in front of me, I could speak Japanese, and my Japanese is really like a not akachan, but like a kodomo. I speak very basic Japanese, but enough to get around. And my husband and I've traveled to Japan many times, and I was going to go in 20 last year, but unfortunately everything closed down. So, oh, you want to see more puppets? Okay, just a minute. I'll go get them. Could you go get more puppets? They're right down there. Yes, I have another one that I absolutely love. It's called the Singing Turtle. And the turtle has down at the bottom, on the bottom, turn around. Here? No, in the chest. And the Singing Turtle has a voice. It is actually a voice of someone that I knew. And you want to get another one? The Singing Turtle, it's a great story about two brothers. I always have good morals to my stories because it's really good. And this is a singing turtle, and he sings like, row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream. And there's another one that he sings, and it's the turtle singing a frog song. Kaeru no utaga kiko e te kuru yo. Gwa, 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 gero, 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 gwa, gwa, gwa. I also have Maneki Neko that I tell. This is Maneki Neko, and you probably all know the story. His whiskers, he hasn't been out lately. He hasn't been behaving, no. Maneki Neko, you all know that story. Oh, and I love this one, the fox story. The fox tricks the otter. You know how foxes are kind of, and he's really good. And what happens to him is his tail comes out because he told another story. Oh, thank you for asking. I am working on other stories from other countries. And I chose stories that were a little less known because a lot of people have heard Momotaro and all of those, but I wanted to do some stories that were not as well known because that's actually more fun. And this is the otter, and he was very kind to the fox, but the fox in turn was not very kind to him. And we have also the two frogs. The two frogs. There's a Kyoto frog. This is a Kyoto frog, and this is the Osaka frog. The Osaka frog is a little like Osaka, and they both want to go to the other places. It is just like us. The grass is always green. The grass is always greener on the other side. Oh, the Momo, it's the Momotaro-san. Momo, the peach boy. Probably most of you have heard that, Momotaro-san. And these are different stories, and I love the frog stories because it could be anywhere. The grass is always greener on the other side, and they find out when they go to Osaka. The Osaka frog goes to Kyoto, and the Kyoto frog goes to Osaka, The food is great, but it's not as great as Kyoto. And he says, well, the temples are beautiful and all of the beautiful shrines and the gardens, but not as good as my food. He likes food. Don't we all like food? So that's the stories. I would love to share more stories with you, but we don't have time. And let's see, up at the beginning is my contact. It's just Lori at loriwhaley.com, Lori, and Lori, Whaley. That's it. So this is my name. I don't know if you can see it. It's Lori Tsugawa Whaley. I am a third generation Japanese American, and I am a descendant of the samurai warrior. And I suffered traumatic brain injury. And in order to overcome reading at a 7th grade level, ta-da, I wrote a book. And so that's the other thing I do. I do many things, being a slightly, shall we say, ADD or just very right side. I have tons of ideas, and I don't want to stop. I just love being connected to my Japanese roots, turning pain into gain. And so I want to thank all of you for coming. It really, I'm humbled. I don't eat humble. That's not a reason to eat humble pie, but I'm very humbled and honored that all of you would be here. And I hope to see all of you later, because I'm just connecting with the the Asian storytellers, and I look forward to that. And I just loved sharing about the Japanese culture, especially the Kodo Bushido. And you all know about that: courage, integrity, benevolence, respect, honesty, honor, and loyalty. And that's another thing that I talk about, and I teach and I coach about it. So I'm so glad that you all came, but we're almost out of time. And before, maybe I should just type in again. Oops. Okay, everyone. Okay, I'll just put Lori at loriwhaley.com. That's my website, and you can contact me there, loriwhaley.com. And my email is Lori at loriwhaley.com. So the ending part is I want to thank all of you for joining the seminar, and please visit the Japan Fair website for more information about the live stream videos and Zoom. And they have recorded this, so this will be recorded, so you'll be able to watch this again. So I want to thank you, every one of you, so much for attending and allowing me to share my love and my passion for Japanese folk tales. And I am going to branch out a bit, because I love, Japanese aren't the only ones that have folk tales. Everybody has folk tales, even American ones. But I just started out doing Japanese because those were the storybooks that I had. So I just started there. I will branch out. But thank you so much, every one of you. Thank you so much. So I'll say mata ne. Thank you so much.